the questions to keep myself aligned. Waste away the hours doing what I should, knowing that my soul tells me it's not for my own good.
So understanding, good morning, Jessica, understanding the power of intention. And I can see that a bunch of you are watching. So if you're watching, just say good morning, so I know that you're out there. So there's a dictionary definition of the power of intention. And that dictionary definition says, in order to have something, good morning, Corey. In order to have something, you must have an intention. In order to do something, you must have an intention, the will to do it. But that definition of intention is really based a lot on ego. And the reason why it's based on ego is because it's talking about having and gaining material things. For the most part, it's about material things. And those material things, we have learned to define ourselves by the stuff that we have. I am my stuff, right? So we've learned to say, because I have a big car, because I have a house, because I have this, and that equals that I am now a success. Because I have these things that say that I am a success, right? The intention was to have these things, and I got these things, and I am my stuff, okay? So that is what intention in the dictionary means. But the true power of intention, you have to think about it as a field of energy. Just like maybe this beautiful colored mist that's flying around and it's just full in the universe of all of our intentions, okay? So that intention is where we can achieve or manifest things into our life, bring things the way that we want it to be. But we need to be connected to that power of intention. And most of us are not. Most of us are attached to ego. So we've turned our back on the power of intention. We've stepped away from it. Okay, so let's talk about this field of intention. The field of intention is very powerful, and everything in our material world is manifested there in the power of intention, in that field of intention, right? So that's what intention really means. So when I talk about intention is vital, I'm not talking about your will to have. I'm talking about that field of intention, to be able to connect to that field of intention. So ego is more about, it defines us by our successes and what we have. Okay, so I am my stuff. My identity is based on what I have. I am my accomplishments. I am my reputation. And that's how ego talks about our intention. That's what ego means. So when we work with ego, that is what we're talking about, okay? So ego also separates us from other people, right? So, it's me and them, and us and them, right? So there's a separation when you talk about ego as well. They look at the people of different races and different cultures and different backgrounds, different income streams, just different from you, as separate from you. And that's how ego sees all of us. But the field of intention is not that. The field of intention is our oneness. It's our connection to each other, okay? We are all connected. We are not separate. It doesn't matter what our culture is. It doesn't matter what our race is, or the color of our skin, or the religion that we practice, or the income stream that we're bringing in, or what we have or don't have. The field of intention is not about that. The field of intention is about our oneness and our unity with everything. And saying things like, I am one with you, like feeling your oneness to it all. If we're not connected to our field of intention, now what that also means is that we are in competition with each other. Okay, we are in competition with each other. So for instance, you know, I've got two businesses, and one of them is that HempWorks business, and one of my uplines is David Gruning, and I put up some of his last income in his last few months of what he made. And I got messages from people about, you know, if he could just pay 1 month of my bills. Oh, if he could, you know, how come he can do that and I can't? Of course you can. He's not made of any different stuff than you are. So our intention is not to be in competition with each other. We do not have opponents. We are in a oneness with each other. All right. That is how we get connected to the field of intention. All right. When we work and live through ego, we put a huge amount of negative pressure on ourselves. So we're always like, oh, I have to get this and I've got to do that. And how come I'm not skinny enough? And oh my God, I keep saying I'm going to do this and I never get it done. And we put this amount of, and somebody tells you about their achievement. You're like, oh, you know, you can't be happy for them because you're so caught up in what you don't have. Okay. So it's really about understanding that power and saying, you know what? If I live through my ego, I am going to live through all of this negative pressure that I put on myself. But if I can live through the field of intention, okay, if I can stay connected to the field of intention, which none of us are ever disconnected from, and we'll talk about that in a second. But if I can reconnect or live through the field of intention, then I'm happy for everyone, for every achievement, even for every setback, because there's something in that for me. Okay. So it's about a completely different way of looking at things. But if you think about our history, like think about what we learn in our history books. It is all about hate. It is all about separation. Right now we're told to hate these people. And then 10 years later, we're no, we can love them and we have to hate those people. And now we don't hate them anymore. We hate those people. And the South hates the North and the North hates the South. And, you know, now we love these people, but we used to hate these people. Now we can like them again. It's all about what we've been told to do. And like cattle, we do it. Okay. Instead of being connected to that oneness and saying, no, I don't hate anyone. You know, I have love for everybody, and I am part of that energy that creates that love. God is owned by no one. All right. So I say source. Some people say God. I use it's a word, but understanding the word God and what power it has. Right. So we have to think about our oneness. Okay. And not about separation and feeling full of hate, because you shouldn't hate anyone. We don't come from a place of hate. That's not where we were. That's not where we came from. That's not where we go back to. We don't go back or came from a place of hate. We came from a place of love. All right. So understanding that we have no opponents. And when we stay with ego, we also have feelings of envy and jealousy. You know, these are all fear-based emotions. Okay, so all emotions come from either fear or from love. Stay with the love-based emotions. The fear-based emotions will do you no good in this world. Okay, they will not help you shine into your greatness. They just won't. Okay, so I love this one situation that happened back in 1967 with Mother Teresa, and I never have forgotten about this. Good morning, Rishma and Joyanne, Lanai. And they asked Mother Teresa in 1967 if she would walk against the war in Vietnam. And she said, no, I won't. Or she refused. And she said, but if you ever have a walk for peace, I will be there. All right. When we say that we are going to fight against war or the battle against something or the fight against something, we give our power away. That's about ego. Again, fear makes us fight, makes us battle. Okay. So we are still ego based and we give our power to that situation. So when we battle against cancer, we are actually empowering cancer because we are giving that energy to cancer. We're doing the opposite of what we think we're doing. Okay? Because when we fight and when we battle, we give our power away to that thing. So whatever that is. So what you want to do is take action towards a cure, right? Not battle against, right? So that's the difference. When we battle against or we fight against, we are giving away our power. Therefore, we are empowering that thing that we think that we are actually trying to change. Messed up, right? How that works. But that is how that works. So, interesting. So a couple of questions that I would like you to mull over in your mind over the next few days. So if you have a pen, write them down. If you don't, then, come back and listen to this part. But just like she said, when you have a walk for peace, I will be there. So I'm going to ask you to write a sentence that says, this is what I am for. And write down what you're for. What are you for? Take a moment and think, what are you for? What do you stand for? What will you walk for? What will you stand for? Okay? This is what I support. This is what I support. What do you support? Okay? And this is what I believe. What do you believe? So what do you stand for? And just say, this is what I stand for. This is what I support. This is what I believe. And understand what those things are. What are those things? What are the concepts? What are the ideas? What are the thoughts? What are the desires? Okay? So being connected to each other is part of the field of intention. So being connected is our part of our field of intention. Being separate from each other is being with ego. It's turning your back, stepping away from that power of intention. So God, source, energy, universe, whatever words you want to use, Allah, Buddha, doesn't matter. But for the sake of this, for this talk, I'm going to use the word source. So source, I think I feel more pulled to use the word God. So God is everywhere, and it's also in everything. So it's in everything that I believe is missing in my life. It's not just in me and in every cell in my body and in all of you and in every cell of your body. It's throughout you. It's behind you. God is in front of you, inside you, everywhere. And it's also in all the things that you believe are missing in your life. So what that means is, because God is connected to all the things that you believe are missing from your life, then you are already connected to those things, right? Because we are in oneness. So if God is in everything that you feel that is missing from your life, then you are already connected to the things that you feel are missing from your life. You are already connected to those things. So they're closer than you think. They are closer than you think. Okay? So existing in the field of intention means that you are connected to everyone and everything. So existing in that field of intention means that you are connected to everyone and everything. So if you think this way, I have within me an invisible power that connects me to everything that exists in the universe. I have within me an invisible power that connects me to everything that exists in the universe. I've been saying this and saying this. We have more power than we think that we have. Everything that you have created in your world is because that is what you intended by the words that you've said, by what you've asked for. Okay, including scarcity instead of abundance. Or you have lots of abundance, but maybe you're missing, love in your life. But what you're missing are the things that you have. It's the way that you've been saying it. It's the way that you have not had a strong connection with that field of intention. So everything was intended here by source. So everything was intended here by source and therefore by God. So therefore we are all here. Each one of us is a thought of God, right? Each one of us is a thought of that source of universe. We are each a thought, whether you are a rock, a couch, a potato, a person, each thing is a thought of God, right? So when we're separate from source, we become disconnected. And when we're disconnected, what happens is then we start having problems and struggles and disease begins. Okay? Because when we are not connected to our God, and just by saying the word, listen, a lot of us believe in God and we think that, you know, we are connected because we have a belief, but the way that we act isn't saying that. So we can talk the talk, but we're not walking the walk. Okay? So you need to walk the walk. If you believe in God, God is not just a word. Okay? It's not just a word like potato. Okay? But that's how we use it now. God, there is a meaning in that word. There is a power in that word. Okay? So when we step away from that, when we feel disconnected from that, not that we can ever be fully disconnected. Again, we'll talk about that in a second. But when we feel disconnected from God, then that's where we start to struggle and our challenges and our diseases begin, because we're living through ego. Okay? There's only one or the other. And this is not God, devil. This is not what we're talking about. We've been given free will. We've been given freedom of choice. So what are your choices? You know, if God just gave us love and not fear, then we would be walking and floating around in a nirvana. Okay, what would we learn from that? So we have been given freedom of will, freedom of choice. Okay, so our ego gives us choices. Our inner gut voice energy in us gives us choices, or actually tells us the right way to do things. Ego gives us choices. We have to decide where we are going to listen to, where we are going to focus our attention. So power of intention is the ability to reconnect ourselves to the source, to God. So there's this really cool quote that Wayne Dyer found from the Native Americans that said, "No tree has branches so foolish as to fight among themselves." I love that, right? No tree has branches so foolish as to fight among themselves. So if we are all from the tree of life, if we are all a branch on that tree, then how foolish has our tree been? Because we fight amongst ourselves all the time. That is our history. Okay, that is our history. We are all branches of the tree of humanity. Okay, so as I said, if we think about history, we were always told who to hate, right? Every problem that you have means that somehow, to some degree, you have separated yourself from source or from God. So every time you feel like you have a problem, it's because your connection to the tree has become a little bit corroded or rusty. It's never disconnected, but your connection is not strong. Okay? So Einstein says nothing happens until something moves. Everything is energy, including money. It's just another form of energy that we can attract or repel into our lives. It's all like money is what I hear about a lot with people. You know, I don't have any money. I don't have any money. I can't do that. I don't, you know, I just can barely pay my bills. I don't have enough money. Power of intention. What are you saying? Okay, you are asking for a world and a life of scarcity. There's this really cool story that Wayne Dyer tells that he heard. So he tells a story that he heard. And it was, if you took all the money in the world, and you put all of it into a bunch of 747s. Okay, so all the money is in these planes, okay, in these 747s. And you started flying these planes around the world, and then you started dropping all the money, right? Dropping all the money all over everyone, so everyone can have money. Within a couple of years, all the people that had all the money, the most of the money, would have all their money back, and the people who didn't have any money would have no money once again. Because it is what we project. You could be given all the money to pay your bills right now and pay your house in full, and within a few years, you will find yourself in the same situation because you asked for that. Okay? So you have to think about, how are you connected? Are you connected? So tomorrow's coffee is going to be about how to understand when you are connected. Okay? So once you can connect to this field of intention, nothing will stand in your way. And he has a saying that he likes that Wayne Dyer says, and it's let go and let God. Let go and let God. And that's really about surrendering. How many of you surrender? Like, just open up your heart and say, okay, bring it on. These are the things that I have, because you are already connected to those things that you think are missing. So bring me those things. Okay. So how many of you surrender? Or how many of you are too afraid to open yourself up and feel a little bit vulnerable, right? So let go and let God. Everything that shows up as energy, everything shows up as energy. So what does that thing that showed up there to show you or teach you? Everything is synchronicity. Okay. So sometimes we are on a roll, things are going good, and all of a sudden some crappy something shows up and it feels like a setback. Okay. Or something really negative happens. And we're like, come on, everything was going good. How did I end up here? Right? So it's because nothing is by accident. Everything is synchronicity. So you need to stand back and say, okay, why did that thing show up in my life right now? What is it trying to tell me? What am I supposed to learn from that? Right? Instead of getting pissed off about it or feeling powerless because of it, what did you learn because of it? What did it bring into your life? What did it educate you on? What did it show you? Okay, because even in those things, there is a message for you. There is something for you in there, and you need to recognize them. Instead of dwelling in the emotion about it, what did I learn from that? Why did that show up? What am I doing that I should be doing? Because usually those setbacks are showing you something, the piece that's missing that you need to bring in, okay? Something that you didn't do, something that you're not doing, that you could be doing better, okay? So because you asked for something, those setbacks are going to be things that are standing in your way, right? So it's like, clear this up, and then we can move on, right? Clear this up, clear that up, because those are standing in the way. So let's just move those out of the way, and now let's keep going, right? So those setbacks are usually things that you have had to clear up, okay? Everything in the entire cosmos is connected to intent by a connecting link. You are never separate, but your connection can be rusty and corroded, like I had said. So you are never disconnected, but the question is, how often do you feel fully connected, and how often do you step away from it to take on ego? So you can feel connected sometimes, and then most of the time you are not, or some of the time you are not. So the question is, how often are you connected, and how often are you not? Did you step away? So this part freaks me out. So much of the population chooses not to stand in their greatness that you originally showed up for. So when you came into this life and you decided to live a lesson, or there was a path you had in mind, and you showed up in that womb, and then you showed up into this life, instead of showing your greatness and shining in your greatness, much of the population chooses to be ordinary. Okay? Instead of being in your greatness, many of you have chosen to be ordinary. Okay? And average. And the willingness to become ill, or addicted, or to be victimized, or attract scarcity, and to believe in these things. These are all choices that you made. These didn't happen to you. They didn't just happen to you. You chose these things, okay? You need to understand that. So because you chose these things, you can choose something else. So you chose these things. You chose to be ordinary, all right? So my question to you now is, how many of you value your path and purpose and want to stand in your greatness? And how many of you are okay with just being ordinary? Okay? And then not loving where you are in this life. Okay? So even though source is abundant and has everything we need, because what we are missing, we are already connected to. Why did you sign up for scarcity then? If it's already there, we already have a connection to what we are missing, then why have you signed up for scarcity? Okay, so that's also something you need to ask yourself. You know, what work do you need to do within yourself for healing so that you can stand in your abundance? Because it's there. It's right there. Okay, so what does this bring? Not feeling or good, or not feeling happy, or even feeling like a victim. These are choices that we brought into our life. You can either choose to be connected or you can choose to step away. That is your free will. That is your freedom of choice. Okay? We have this because even we're thoughts of God, but God, he's not just, we're just put here. The universe didn't just put us here to live a part in a play. We're not following a script, okay? There are millions of different outcomes for us, but it's all based on our freedom. He had to give us that freedom of choice, that freedom of will. We needed to have that so that we weren't just walking like puppets down a path, okay? We needed to make choices with that free will to choose all the different choices, millions of different options that are available to us, okay? So you can change your choices. You can change your path by simply reconnecting yourself, okay? People like to do self-realization. Another word for self-realization is God realization, because God is within us. So to realize ourselves, we need to realize that power, that energy, that source that we have within us. Okay, we are more than what you see with your naked eye, right? So you need to understand that. So my personal mission is also self-realization, because I continue to grow and continue to make my connections stronger, because I keep saying I am one with you. One day God's going to feel me knocking on the door. I'm there. I'm like, I'm right here. My frequency and vibration, I just want to keep on rising it and keep on raising it and keep on raising it until I can be like, yo, here I am, right? So I am one with you. Okay? Once I have fully made this connection, nothing goes wrong. So it's our destiny, right? Maybe this is part of our human lesson. Maybe part of our human lesson is to become disconnected and then to reconnect, to learn how to make that connection stronger as we move into each lifetime, right? We are like a wave on the ocean. If we are like a wave, if each one of us is a wave on the ocean is the source, right? But waves don't ask each other, hey, how come someone's surfing on you and not on me? And hey, how come you're bigger than I am? And waves don't ask those things, okay? So it's the same thing. If the ocean is the source and the waves are each person, then we just have to flow with it. We just got to flow with it, right? We are in a body that does have limits, but we are inside us, we are filled with something that has no limits at all. And we say these words, we know this at some level of consciousness, we know this, but we don't really understand what that means. And what that means is you have something inside you, as we all do, that created everything. Do you understand the power that you have? Can you just grasp that for a moment and just be like, holy shit. You have this amazing power within you that is so abundant and has everything that you're looking for. But you choose to step away from that, right? I choose to vibrate with source energy, to be in concert with source. I choose to vibrate with source energy and to be in concert with source. Replace the word source with God, with Allah, with Buddha, with energy, with universe, whatever word feels good for you, the higher power, in my inner wisdom, whatever word feels the right word for you. I stopped saying the word God for a while, and I started just saying source, source, source. Not that just is, source is huge, so should be no just there, but with source. The reason for that is because now when I say the word God, I can feel it resonate in me. It's not just a word that I say anymore, right? There is meaning back into that word again. So tomorrow we're going to talk about how to know the signs of how to know that you are connected to that field of intention, right? What are the signs? And just by knowing the signs, you're going to know how to reconnect yourself. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about. Today, I want you to just sort of reflect. Remember, whatever we're asking for inside is what is our reflection of our world outside of us. We are more than what we have. I am not my stuff. I am not my stuff. Okay. I am what I feel inside. I am that connection to source. Okay. So that stuff is just, it's stuff. Okay. But now I've been saying, like, for instance, my intention, what I'm manifesting, and I'll give you some examples. So I've been manifesting for the last few months that I will be making $50,000 a month by December. And I wrote three ways that money was going to come in. One, it was going to come in from my CBD business. Two, it's going to come in from my clinic, my practice. And thirdly, it's going to come in from the online sources that or the online courses that I'm starting to post up there. And that's where this $50,000 a month is going to come. Okay. So that's what I put out there. Then I started doing some, picking up some cold messaging, both for the practice and for the CBD business. And I ran into someone that I thought, we set up a time to speak, and I thought it was going to be about CBD. I thought I was going to be talking to them about CBD. So I sat down, and I was in Rochester at the time, and I sat down and we set up the Zoom call, and, now he's talking to me and I'm giving him my whole, my spiel, and I'm talking about it. And he starts talking to me about how I'm marketing my business and all the stuff and what he does. And before I knew it, the conversation had completely flipped around, and no longer was I talking about CBD. I was signing up for this marketing for what he does, because he markets businesses that are holistic and alternative, which I could never find. And that was something that I was missing, and I was now asking for. I will find that marketing company. I will find the help that will brand me properly. I will find the help that will help me to bring in not only the money that I need, because bringing in the money that I need will then allow me to help the people that I want to help, right? It's a circle. But I had been thinking about things all wrong, right? I had made my sessions and everything so low, because I wanted to be available for everyone, that I had undervalued what I was doing. So people were not actually connecting to me because they thought, well, she must not know what she's doing. Okay. And these messages had come many times in many different places that I was undervaluing my work, right? So now I found someone that's not only going to brand me properly and niche me properly and make me charge properly what I'm supposed to be for my business, that is going to bring in mostly of what I've been asking for. So it's funny how something can, I put my intention out there, and the right people will fall into your life. All right. I had an issue with the Canadian government, right? So I had an issue because 4 years ago, I closed a business down. I forgot to make some tax payments, just small, like puny little payments. I forgot to make them, and they didn't send me any reminders. And I was so wrapped up in building the practice, I completely forgot about it. Okay. And what happens one day, the day that I'm leaving for Rochester, there's a freeze put on all of my bank accounts. And I'm like, what is going on here? I'm supposed to be leaving in 1 hour, and I have no access to my funds. Okay. So I call them, and I'm talking to them, and I'm like, here, I'll pay you right now. And they're like, no, your accounts are frozen. We can't take the money from there. We're going to garnish this. We're going to garnish that. We're going to garnish. They took it. They took it all. Okay. So I was like, what are you doing? Right? What are you doing? So I had to wait to get money back. And this took, like, this has been, I just finished this up right now. It took 3 months. But what did I learn about this? Number one, pay attention to my transactions, like what I have to do with people, even the government, my transactions. I need to pay attention. Number two, I had to ask for help to pay it so I could release my funds that they'd already taken. It was a ridiculous situation. Okay. Which made me vulnerable. I don't like to be vulnerable. Okay. That was one of the things that I had to learn, that it was okay to be vulnerable. It was okay to show my soft underbelly. It was okay. And that I need to be vulnerable to be more connected to that field of intention. Even though at that moment I was like, what is happening here? And I even found myself for a moment turning my back against connection and just being more ego-based when I said, oh my God, I spend my days helping people and this is what I get for it. So like I had that moment where I said that, and then I laughed to myself immediately after, going, that was the stupidest thing you've said in a long time. So it was just about understanding that, you know what, this showed up for a reason. I got to clean this stuff up. It's going to take a bit of time, but it's going to get cleaned up and it'll be behind me. Okay. But what did I learn from it? I learned some things from it. Definitely. So even when the setbacks show up in your life, it's like, what did you learn from that? What did I pick up from that? That just didn't happen for the sake of happening. Okay. So what did I learn from that? So just keeping all of that in mind. Now understanding what the field of intention is. I gave you some statements that I'd like you to complete. That is kind of your challenge over the next few days. It's just really to give that some thought. What do you stand for? What do you believe in? Okay. What are the words that you're using? You know, what are the things that you're thinking about yourself in your life, and how is that reflecting itself outside of your life? You know, because that's what happens. So that's what I've got for you today. I hope that has helped some of you sort of sit down and contemplate where you are right now. And if you're going to shine in your greatness, or whether you're going to follow ego and just be ordinary. Okay. So where do you want to be in this? And whether you are going to start to make ego a team player, taking control of your life, right? Make ego a team player. You're going to work together rather than against each other. So you can do that. You have the power to do all of that. Why? Because you have that power within you. You have an incredible power within you. Just be one with it. Okay. So that is my advice to you today. And that is my information for you today. Have a fantastic day. Remember, once again, love yourself, give yourself a nice big hug. And I hope some of you have done the challenges before where you look in the mirror, that transformation challenge of looking in the mirror and starting to focus on the things that you love about yourself, rather than focusing on flaws and things that you think that are wrong with you, because there's nothing wrong with you. You are beautiful. Okay. You are beautiful. And all of those flaws are beautiful. And everything about you is beautiful. That is your experience in this life. Okay. And some of those things you can change if you want to. Okay. It's just how you do it. Right. So I will talk to you guys all later. Bye. Have a great day.
Look at my reflection. In the mirror I see that it's not the person who lives inside of me. Done with all the fear and doubts, the negativity. I'm shedding all the crap right now. I'm stepping